Balak was the king of Moab, and he hired this magician called Bilaam, who was regarded as one of the great figures of the Mesopotamian era, and they lived at the time when the children of Israel were coming out of the desert and preparing to invade the land of Canaan. Balak, the king of Moab, was worried that he didn't have the physical might to fight off the Israelites. He'd already seen how they'd managed to get rid of two major powers, and so he called Bilaam in to see if Bilaam could win by magic, by hocus pocus, by cursing the Israelites. Now, this, of course, is superstitious, the idea that you achieve things by curses. And indeed, Bilaam himself is going to say, Ki lo nachash b'Yakov v'lo kesem b'Yisrael, that magic or spells have no impact on the Israelites if they are following Torah. But the question is, why does the Torah devote this time, these chapters, to this man Bilaam, who was non-Jewish and not a friend of the Israelites altogether? The Torah does go into the question of magic. Bilaam on his donkey, and the donkey at one stage turns around and has a conversation with him, and there's an intervention of an angel. It is to show that in the world there are lots of different ways of coping with life, and none of them can be compared to Torah. But that doesn't mean to say that there isn't something of value and something of use and benefit in the non-Jewish world as well. And this is what the story of Bilaam teaches us, that his religion, if you like, or the way he dealt with pagans, had no impact on us. But there were aspects of the world that he came from that could be, under certain conditions beneficial. Certainly not the sexual side. The sexual side was free and corrupt, and when he sees that spells don't work, that's the advice he gives to Balak to try to seduce the Jewish people through sexual seduction. But we nowadays are faced with a very similar position. We have around us values and societies that are very different to ours with different values. If we were not meant to take anything good from the non-Jewish world, then of course the question is, why are there so many quotes from Bilaam in our parsha this week that we use all the time? Ma tovu oholecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael. How good are your tents, Jacob. Your dwelling place is Israel. O am levadad yishkon uvagoyim lo yitchashav. We are a nation that dwells alone, and we're not the same as everybody else. And how often do the most orthodox people quote these quotes which come from a non-Jewish source? And the truth is that there are certain things we can take from the non-Jewish world. For example, the idea of human rights. It's not mentioned in the Torah because the Torah talks about human obligations. We have obligations to other humans, to look after them, to support them, and to be helpful. We don't talk about our rights in the Torah, we talk about obligations. But rights in this modern day and age have some benefit, some value. Children's rights, not being able to take advantage of the weak and the poor and those who can't defend themselves. On another level, let's take social welfare. We know socialism is dramatically opposed to Judaism and is opposed to Torah. But the Haredi world probably couldn't survive without the social welfare that was introduced by governments that were social, secular governments, whether it's in Israel or whether it's in Europe, and to some extent, although it's not the same, in America too. These are gifts that have come to us from outside of ourselves. And just as there is room for Bilaam in the Torah, so in the same way, there is room for the benefits of the non-Jewish world in the world in which we live. We still have our moral, spiritual, and religious values, and our priority and loyalty is to them. But that doesn't mean that all else automatically has to be excluded.